So this is the person that supports Blake Lively. Hi, and welcome to Blossom Talk. I'm Kerstin Flo, and here on my channel, I talk about my good and bad experiences in Hollywood, working as an entertainment reporter, and as you know, a lot about Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively's lawsuits. So yesterday, I spoke about some letters that were sent to Judge Lehman. One was from 3 organizations, and they were saying that they were the ones who kind of created this new Me Too law, and they wanted Judge Lehman to use it in Blake Lively's case, which is basically saying that if you are suing someone for SH, they're not allowed to sue you back for defamation. LA Times did a big story on this, and they also mentioned the letter that was sent from an individual, a lawyer. Her name is Elise Dorsy, and LA Times was saying that a separate letter of interest was also filed by Elise Dorsy, a former federal employee, an SH survivor who described being sued for defamation after speaking out and said the law at issue could have spared her years-long legal ordeal. Additional briefs are expected in the coming days from advocacy groups, including Child USA and Sanctuary for Families. Okay, so this YouTube channel called Cassidy O'Connell looked into the legal case from Elise Dorsy, and I have to say it is worse than Blake Lively. So apparently they've seen all the legal documents. You can watch her video. I'll leave a link below to the original video that she did about this whole case. And it's crazy. So this woman had a relationship to this professor for 11 years while she was also married. He was married and she was also married. As he's claiming, the relationship was consensual and he was showing a lot of text. There's a lot of text messages in the legal filings as well, where you can see their text back and forth. And after 11 years, when he actually wanted to end the relationship, she was not happy about it. And she got jealous about it and ended up showing up at his campus and yelling at him. So after 11 years of a consensual relationship, she sued him for SH. And then he ended up suing her back for defamation. The lawsuit ended up being settled and she had to pay him. The amount is not disclosed anywhere, but she said that she decided to sell so she could talk freely about her experience afterwards. This reminds me so much of that movie with Kevin Spacey. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's an amazing movie. Not to talk about him in any positive light here, but that movie, it's called The Life of David Gale from 2003. It's about something like this and how a woman can ruin a man's life with false allegations. That movie is just brilliant. I have to say, one of my favorite movies. It's so powerful. So if you haven't seen The Life of David Gale, highly recommend it. Anyway, so this is the person that supports Blake Lively. There's a lot of threads apparently on Reddit about this as well. And some people have gone into her LinkedIn page where she is talking about how she supports this. And she's apparently having a full-time job deleting all the negative comments over there. I haven't checked her LinkedIn today, but yeah, now you know who Elise Dorsy is. And I'm sure there's more like her coming out of the woodworks. Another interesting article. Thank you, Shaista, for sending me this. This is quite funny because Blake Lively's legal team, which is called Wilkie, Farr and Gallagher, just signed a deal with Trump. They signed a deal to donate $100 million in free legal work for his administration. And they also agreed to drop diversity hiring. So this is quite interesting when you compare it to how Blake Lively has been championing progressive causes and, you know, LGBTQ rights and reproductive rights. And then her team is in Trump's back pocket. Also in the news, this story really caught my attention. So Kevin Costner is now also being sued by a woman who was a stunt double in Horizon 2, one of all these Horizon movies he's been making that no one really liked that much, I think. And of course, New York Times was the first one, one of the first ones to report on this, saying that this woman, her name is Devin Labella, and she filed a lawsuit on Tuesday against Costner, saying that she was put in a position at work where she didn't know beforehand that she was going to be in a violent, I can't say that word on YouTube, but it starts with R and ends with ape. She said she was put in a position to do this scene without her knowledge. She says that she has suffered afterwards with sleep disturbance, fear of intimacy, and anxiety, amongst others. The suit also says she felt disposable and worthless following the scene. Kevin Costner's attorneys have replied to this, saying that Kevin Costner always wants to make sure that everyone is comfortable working on his films and takes safety on set very seriously. However, this claim by David Labelle has absolutely no merit and is completely contradicted by her own actions and the facts. So Costner's team has shared screenshots of text messages allegedly sent by Labelle following a cast dinner that took place after rehearsal of the scene in question. So they're saying that they actually did rehearse this scene, so she obviously knew about it. She was in good spirits and made no complaints to them. She continued to work on the movie for a few more weeks until her wrap date, and she took the stunt coordinator to a thank you dinner. And she said she experienced shock, harassment, and humiliation while attempting to process the situation in days that followed after filming. She further claimed that she was not hired back to continue her role. At the end of the article in New York Times, all the way at the end, it says here's a statement from his team again saying that Labelle also sent him, Kevin Costner, a cordial thank you text illustrated with happy heart emojis. The facts are clear, and we are beyond confident that Kevin will prevail. I don't know. I feel like because of Blake Lively, these cases will start popping up. I don't know what to think about this case, actually, because I don't know enough facts already. But it seems to me if they have text messages showing that contradicts what she's saying, I feel like this is a kind of a Blake Lively situation here. And that is a problem because now we've seen what Blake Lively did, and we are starting to doubt these things. We're going to have to wait to see more evidence. I'm sure that he's going to file back Kevin Costner very soon to, share his side of the story here. But I do find it interesting of this timing that is coming now 2 years after this incident apparently happened. And if they have evidence that she knew about this scene, yeah, I don't know. Oh my God. I don't know how to react to this actually, because I feel terrible if I don't believe her. But then at the same time, it feels a little far-fetched to me that why would it be in his interest in the first place to do this scene without her permission? He's been in the industry for 50 years almost. So why would he take such a risk? And why wouldn't you plan a scene like that? It doesn't make any sense to me, but who knows? She might be right. She might be traumatized. We will find out. It reminds me of Kevin Costner's face. Remember when he was at SNL and Ryan Reynolds made a joke? Remember, Kevin Costner's face went viral. He was not amused about his joke about Blake Lively and the situation. So, yeah. Also, this came up in my feed on Instagram. It's from the account called It Ends With Us Lawsuit on Instagram. And they shared this video, which is quite revealing now, I think, how Blake Lively took the cast out for a dinner. This was on June 28th. 2024. So a little less than a year ago. And she took the entire cast out, except from Justin Baldoni, to celebrate Brandon Sklenar's, or as they're referring to him here, Timo Thor 31st, fourth birthday. And they were posing for paparazzis. You could see in the video, there's so much press there. I'm sure they called them beforehand. And People Magazine did a story on them saying like the actress was spotted all glammed up while heading to dinner at a hot spot. Blah, blah, blah. The whole cast was there. And it says Justin Baldoni, who directs the film and playing romantic lead Ralph Kincaid, and Jenny Slate who also stars, seem to be missing. As this post is pointing out, this was probably Blake Lively already planting the seeds that Justin Baldoni was an outcast and he was not a part of the group. And it to kind of plant the seed in the media that there was a rift there between them. And that would be totally up Blake Lively's alley, I think, the way she has behaved. So this is just heartbreaking, I think, when you see now in retrospect, when you see these things and you know exactly what her plan was all along. It also says here that it's unclear whether the cast was attending an event for the new film, but they appeared to be dressed to the nines as they walked together to the popular restaurant. If they weren't if they weren't going to an event, I find it interesting that they were so dressed up for this, just going to a restaurant together. So, as I said, I am sure she called the paparazzi. Why would they be there? And you see so many flashes. Of course, there wasn't just a guy standing there randomly, like, oh, whoa, who's that? Blake Lively is coming with the entire cast, except Justin Baldoni for From It Ends With Us. Of course, they called beforehand. Yeah. Also in the news is Hugh Jackman's divorce. I think this is going to get pretty messy as well. So his ex-wife, Deborah Lee Furness, has talked to the press about, she hasn't really said his name in the press, and it seems like they had an agreement that they wouldn't shade each other in the press. But she has said here that my heart and compassion goes out to everyone who's traversed the traumatic journey of betrayal. It's a profound wound that cuts deep. However, I believe in a higher power and that God, the universe, whatever you relate to as your guidance, is always working for us. This belief has helped me navigate the breakdown of an almost 3-decade marriage. She says a lot of other stuff here. And as you know, her marriage, or as we learned now, her marriage started falling apart with Hugh Jackman already during COVID. And that's when he started practicing for this musical, The Music Man, that was on Broadway. And that's where he met his now girlfriend, Sutton Foster. And since they started working together back then, of course, Deborah feels that they started a relationship while he was still with her. She comes across as very bitter, which is understandable, but I think it's not that smart to go to the press like this because then they're going to start a war in the press. So some source close to Hugh Jackman has come out and said that he is very sad about this, that they kind of had a silent agreement that she wouldn't talk about their breakup in the press, but she did anyways. So this could turn quite dirty. There's also a story here on Radar Online where Deborah seems very disappointed in Blake and Ryan because they kept this relationship secret from her. So she knows, so she believes that they knew about this and they didn't tell her about it. It says here that now she's seething with rage over being the last to know about the clandestine affair. Deb feels blindsided. She has a memory like a steel trap and isn't afraid to use it. Debs feels cheated by all three because someone could have told her what was happening and they all chose to keep their mouths shut. Of course, Blake and Ryan chose to be friends with Hugh Jackman, who is much more famous than his ex-wife. That's no surprise there. And I understand that she feels betrayed. It's awful. This whole situation is terrible. I have to say, I've said so many times before that I have a really great impression of Hugh Jackman. I feel like he's a nice guy deep inside. Marriages do fall apart and they were together in the entertainment world. 27 years is like 90 years in the real world. So I'm impressed that they actually stay together for that long. It's very rare that you see that. But of course, if he cheated on her, that's not a very good look for him. And it's disappointing, I think. And of course, it's understandable that Deborah is bitter about this. Well, it's going to be interesting to see now if Ryan Reynolds comes out to defend Hugh Jackman. I'm sure Hugh Jackman has received some backlash from this. I remember people going to his Instagram, sharing their frustration over him and their disappointment in him when this happened. And yeah, now it's Ryan Reynolds' turn to be there for his friend. Let's see how he deals with that. All right, you guys, that's it for me today. There's so much to talk about. I don't have space in one episode, so there's going to be more coming soon. Thanks again so much for watching my channel. I really appreciate all your support, and you keep sending me amazing tips. So as I said so many times, I wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. So please keep sending me stuff. I love it. I love you guys so much. You're amazing. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode of Flawsome Talk. And I'll see you in my next episode. Bye.